What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Big 12 Brothers podcast. This is the opening night of the podcast where we will be talking Big 12 football, but more right now basketball as Big 12 conference play gets kicked off on Friday. I've got my brother here, NYCKB. I'm your host, Deep Pockets. You guys know me all from Deep Pockets, of course. Kenny, how you feeling? Big 12 basketball is almost back. Just give me a little bit how you feeling as we get approaching to this conference basketball play.
It was a tough year for us in the Big 12 for Oklahoma State, so couldn't hit the fast forward button quick enough to get this basketball season here underway. So I'm looking forward to it on those Saturdays, big Mondays, and every other night that the Big 12 is playing to tune in and watch some great games.
So what'll be coming on this podcast? We'll be doing a lot during the season. So obviously we won't be on here every single day doing videos. We'll do as many as we can. We do get busy. Our schedules get really tight, but we're going to try to provide as much content throughout the season, talking about every day there's games going on, mostly Monday through Wednesday. I feel like Big 12 is playing during the week, and then Saturdays, of course, there's basketball. Typically Thursdays and Fridays are dedicated to other conferences, but we'll be on here as much on those days. We're going to talk about all of our favorite teams on this podcast, who we like to win the conference, who are some sleeper teams. And of course, we'll talk and give as much insight about Oklahoma State. So we are fellow Oklahoma State grads. We watch this team pretty much every game. So we know a lot about them. We'll try to give more of a deeper dive into them. And then, of course, other teams, because we know a lot about this conference. So, Kenny, we are excited to get this kicked off. We're going to be talking about football as well, as football season is closer next year, and then a little bit more in the offseason as that's going along. We're lifelong Big 12 fans. Believe it or not, we started as Missouri Tigers fans. So we're both from St. Louis. That's where we grew up. We were Missouri Tiger fans. Kenny, why did we switch to Oklahoma State? Tell me why we are not Missouri Tigers fans any longer.
Well, I feel like if you live in the state of the school, you have to root for that school, and that's kind of what we did by default. And then we went to Oklahoma State, both lived together in the residence hall in an apartment complex. And then once you go to a school like Oklahoma State, you become a fan instantly. So we can both say that, yes, we went to Oklahoma State. That's why we like them. That's why we rep their merch, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, looking forward to talking about Big 12 sports, especially football and basketball. I think the Big 12 is every year overlooked about different teams and sports, and we're here to share those stories and talk about those teams that maybe aren't getting as much hype in the national spotlight as they deserve.
Absolutely, especially football. We'll get to football season when it's actually closer, but Big 12 definitely in basketball is the best from top to bottom. There's absolutely no easy win in basketball. So we'll give all the respect to the basketball teams. And of course, when football season comes around, we'll be sure to give as much content and notice as we should. So yeah, it is funny though that we started as Missouri Tigers fans. Now we're Oklahoma State. A quick funny story about Oklahoma State. So we were actually living together, like Kenny said. So we were on a Big 12 campus. I never would have thought I was going to go to Oklahoma State. So as a quick story and introduction into the Big 12 brothers, my freshman year, if somebody told me, oh, you're going to be at a Big 12 school next year, I would have said, yeah, okay, no way. And if they would have said Oklahoma State, I would have said there's absolutely no chance. I've never been to Oklahoma in my life. Why would I go to Oklahoma State? So long story short, Kenny got a master's program down there and basically said, hey, you need to come down to Oklahoma State, visit it. I went down to visit. It was amazing. One of the best campuses that I touched campus on. I visited Missouri, didn't like it. I also visited Arkansas, did not like it at all. Arkansas was bottom of the list, did not like that campus at all. But Kenny told me that because I played soccer all my life, I need to walk on to Oklahoma State, or at least I need to try to walk on. So I'm not going to give the full story now. This is just a little teaser, but I was actually on the Oklahoma State football team for just a couple weeks. I got cut eventually, but it was a pretty cool story. I made the football team. I was part of a Big 12 team for, again, a couple weeks. I shared a locker room with Tyreek Hill. So a lot of cool things like that happened. And that's why, boom, we became avid Oklahoma State fans. We went there. We got our undergrad. And, of course, Kenny got his graduate degree. And now we're in love with Oklahoma State Cowboys. And we're always loyal and true. Even if we didn't win a single conference game in football this season, we're still ready. And basketball has been a disaster for the last few years, but we're back on track. So let's get into it. That's just a little bit of a preview as to who we are and why we are Big 12 fans, but of course, Oklahoma State fans. And we'll try to get as little bias as possible when we talk about Oklahoma State, but that can be hard to do at times.
We are going to talk about Oklahoma State a little bit more than certain teams because of our familiarity with them, but also a little funny story going back to the college days, but more recently, is that we wore our Oklahoma State gear out to Las Vegas this past fall.
Oh yeah.
And that was after Mike Gundy was already fired from the position as football coach to Oklahoma State. And so many people were coming up to us saying, wow, you guys got some balls, wearing Oklahoma State stuff still. We're like, yeah, like shoot, the whole table almost fell over. And they were like,
It's
yeah.
the first intro.
What?
You're good. It's just the intro video. We're good. Keep going.
Yeah. So they're like, wow, you guys got some balls for wearing the Oklahoma State stuff around. And everyone was like, that's amazing. You guys still wear and rep Oklahoma State stuff. I'm like, yeah, like no matter what our season's like we're always going to bleed orange. So
absolutely. Yep. We're not bandwagons. We aren't just going to start rooting for our team because they got good again. No, we're going to be here during the tough times. And we've definitely suffered it. I don't know how it can get worse than what the last 2 years have been. Zero conference wins.
And we were fortunate during our time when we were at Oklahoma State to be able to see great sports. And like, that's what makes your experience a little bit better, and your loyalty to the school is that when you're there, you actually had a really good experience. So we got to see a lot of great teams and a lot of great players, and fortunate for my time there.
Yep. A lot of fun times. So that's a little bit of a background to that. As I said before, we're going to share our knowledge of the conference. We still follow a lot of these teams in conference play. So not just Oklahoma State, but we learn, we find good things about these teams, and that helps us. We're pretty good sports bettors. We try to keep it smart, and throughout the season, that's another thing I want to add here is even if you are just here to watch for some fun, if you want to learn more about the Big 12 or just in general sports betting, I know sports betting is big now across the U.S. We'll try to have a little bit of everything into that play and just help people as much as we can. We like to share our knowledge in the Big 12 and just have fun with it. So it's all authentic.
One more quick question. Who's your favorite player you ever saw come to play at Oklahoma State?
Ooh,
any Big 12 team?
That's a good question. I would say, I mean, how can you not say? And it's funny because I didn't know it at the time until after the fact. So I'm still going to say it, though. Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech. I didn't know it at the time how much of a stud he would be. But he came into Oklahoma State. That was like a 42-41 game. They only lost because they missed the extra point with like 5 seconds left. They tied it with like 5 seconds left. It was a crazy ending. But Pat Mahomes coming in with Texas Tech had no idea he was going to be what he is now. That's pretty cool to be able to say I saw Texas Tech and Pat Mahomes play at Oklahoma State Boone Pickens Stadium.
Well, I have one more. My favorite player I saw come in, that's not Patrick Mahomes, because he did play, I think, a Thursday night game when I was there. He came in momentarily, but he didn't have that great year that year. He came in as still young. But my favorite player was Baker Mayfield.
Ooh, yeah. Yep. That's a good one.
Watching him come into Stillwater that game when Oklahoma State and Oklahoma went back and forth nonstop all game. Like, that was an amazing game, up and down.
We have to find that score because I remember watching the highlights of that game like earlier this year, and it was like 60 something to 6. It was like a total like Big 12 style play, no defense, all offense. Yeah, that was pretty cool too.
Yep.
All right, awesome. Well, that's just a little intro into our podcast and our page. We are going to be on pretty much every social media platform. So I've created pages on Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. All of that's going to have content, and we're just going to post whatever we want whenever we want. That's the part of this page is we're going to have fun with it. And like I said, give as much information as we can, but also live reaction. So we might even find us on a live one night. We're like, hey, there's a Big 12 game on. Let's go live in the second half and watch this game, whether we have money on it or not. We're going to have as much authentic information and videos, content as much as we can. So it'll be a lot of fun. And Kenny, we have Big 12 play kicking off here on Friday. We won't break down every game. Maybe we'll talk about a couple of the matchups, but early on in Big 12 play, we've seen, I would say, the entire conference dominate. I mean, you're looking at Utah as the worst team in the conference right now. They're 8-5, and their net ranking is 131. Typically, the net ranking is a good indication of how good a team is. And so they're outside of the 100s, obviously. Every other team in the Big 12 is in the top 100. That's pretty damn good for a conference. And you see a lot of teams in like the top 50. That's a great sign. There's no easy wins in the Big 12. Kenny, as we start this podcast here and start breaking down some of these teams in the Big 12, what is your biggest, like, why is this Big 12 so good, but why is it so hard night in, night out? What's like the biggest reason that you think is that tough?
I just think because of all the environments you're going into every night, it's just incredible. Even a school like Oklahoma State that we went to, who isn't a top 10 team maybe this year in the Big 12, but they're going to compete. They have a pretty rowdy environment to go into. So it's just like the rowdy environment night after night, the up and down, high octane offense kind of play. And there's just no like grinded out kind of game. It's just nonstop high octane offense back and forth, and just the coaching, the level of elite coaching that you see in the Big 12. You can't be a great coach or you can't be a good coach and win in the Big 12. You have to be a great coach. So I think just the level of coaching and X's and O's is fun to watch if you're a basketball fan, because they do execute a lot of plays, they run an offense, and they do get up and down the floor and play defense. So it's just fun to watch if you're just a basketball purist. Whereas the NBA, they go down and take one shot and they score. The Big 12, they fight for those points, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it's made it fun over the years, and there's actually absolutely no easy wins. Like we saw last year, I think it was Houston went on the road against Colorado, and I'm pretty sure Colorado was one of the worst teams in the Big 12 last year, and they took them down to the wire. Like it was that close of a game. When you're talking about Houston, who went to the finals last season, it's just night in, night out. Oklahoma State, when we were there, had some pretty mediocre teams, and they beat Kansas by 20 like so many times. I can't tell you the amount of times that Kansas would go to Gallagher Arena and just lay a dud. So yeah, night in, night out, you see the talent on all of these teams. You can't take a day off. It's just tough, top to bottom, and that's why the Big 12 is the best conference with tons of talent. So let's talk a little bit about who our favorites are. As you see, the bottom ticker, Arizona is currently the betting favorite to win the Big 12. A very impressive non-conference they played. Iowa State right behind them. Of course, Houston is third, which I think has really good value. BYU and then Kansas just to round out the top five. And of course, you see some sleepers there in the middle, like West Virginia, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Cincinnati. So I can start off with my favorite team. Or Kenny, do you have a favorite in the Big 12 this season? Is there a team that you see, according to those odds, that you would take and put a little bit of a sprinkle on to win the Big 12 conference?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to take Iowa State, one of the original loyal Big 12 teams. TJ Otzenberger has never not made the March Madness tournament. So to see a team like him and him come in and take over, like regardless of what you think about Iowa State, they continue to win. They continue to put themselves in position to dominate, but also be a contender in the top of the Big 12 conference. I thought that was something Oklahoma State would do when Texas and Oklahoma left, but TJ Otzenberger has them up there as the top team in the Big 12. And excuse me, I'm not saying his name right. Am I saying it right?
I think you're good. Yeah. Otzelberger.
Yeah. So he's been good year in, year out, and every year they have a chance to go deep into the tournament. Not just make the tournament, but go deep into the tournament. And I think that's what sets apart a lot of these teams from, Big 12 to other conferences, that they have a guy like this coaching at Iowa State.
Yeah, this guy's been incredible since he started at Iowa State, and you have to give him all the credit. And this is why I say it makes me, as an Oklahoma State fan, disappointed that we can't be on the level of Iowa State, because we really can be, and we just haven't been the last few years. But credit to Iowa State, credit to Otzelberger. They have been incredible these last few years, and look what they did in non-conference play. They didn't lose a single game. They beat the brakes off of Purdue, who was the preseason number one team, and everybody is basically saying they should be, a Final Four contender. 81-58 on the road, they won against Purdue. That's just a hell of a win. You see wins against St. John's, Creighton, Iowa. They probably didn't play the strongest strength of schedule of all the Big 12 teams, but that's still pretty damn good to be going into conference play undefeated. Their first game's on Friday. They actually will kick off the official Big 12 conference play of 2025, well, I should say 2026, with West Virginia. That'll be a home game in Ames. So
yeah, have you ever seen Iowa State in the postseason, especially in Kansas City? They show up. They bring everybody from the town of Ames down to Kansas City. It's really incredible to see how much their fans travel, and just the amount of talent that's able to be retained in Ames, Iowa. If they can do it, any basketball program around the country can do it, because who's wanting to really go to Ames, Iowa, unless you're from that area? So it's credit to Iowa State and the athletic department and the head coach and all the good decisions they continue to make, because they had a really good one before. Fred Hoiberg, he was able to get guys and transfer in a different era of college basketball. But now to keep your guys year in, year out and still have returners come back, that says a lot to the team.
Yeah, this is a fun team. Joshua Jefferson returned. He's averaging 18 points a game. He's their leading scorer. Lipsy is another guy returning. He feel like he's been there for like 5 years. A lot of these guys, I feel like, have been there for 5 years. Momhilovic, the forward, if I'm saying that right. I can't pronounce some of these guys sometimes. He's only a junior, so he's probably going to be back next year too. He's averaging 17 points a game. There's just so many guys on this team. They're very deep. They have guys who can come off the bench as well. this is a fun Iowa State team who's going to definitely be a contender for the Big 12 title this season. Another team.
Would you be guessing that they're 13-0 right now? I mean, they've won some pretty big games already this year. They've beaten teams like Mississippi State, St. John's. You already mentioned that, right? Purdue.
Yep.
Iowa. But just like to reinforce how good that they've been to start off the year is testament to Iowa State.
Absolutely. And another team who is up there, they're currently the betting favorites. I just want to speak on them just because I've watched a lot of their basketball this year. But what a non-conference for Arizona. And this is going to be the true test. Can Arizona finally get to a Final Four this year? I feel like we're always talking about Arizona being very good, talented, but they could just never get over the hump. But, I mean, this is a really, really talented Arizona Wildcats team. They beat Florida to open the season. That was just the first game. UCLA, UConn, Auburn, Alabama, just to name a few wins. That game was basically in Alabama for a 30-point win. Sorry, 20-point win, 30-point against Auburn. Just all around, really good team, well-balanced. They are good on the defensive end. They're fourth. This is according to Bartorvik. They're fourth in the metrics on defense, 15th in offense. Really good rebounding team. They get to the free throw line. This is going to be one of my teams to look out for in the Big 12. Obviously, we all know how good they are, but how good can they continue in the Big 12 on a nightly basis? That's going to be my question. They kick off Big 12 play with Utah, so it shouldn't be a problem. Utah, like I said, is one of the worst teams in the Big 12, if not the worst. So Arizona is going to be my big-time favorite team to take this conference, just for a couple of those reasons that I mentioned here. Tommy Lloyd, like I said, you have to think he gets over the hump at some point. He's their head coach there. He's been great since he's taken over as their head basketball coach, but I'm excited to see what they do in the conference play. And then let's talk about another team, Kenny. I know we're very familiar with this team. That's the Kansas Jayhawks, Kenny. We have Bill Self at it again. I mean, you talk about another team who played a super strong non-conference, and I love these kind of teams because it doesn't matter what your record is once you hit conference play. What matters is how you've looked in those games against those non-conference matchups. I mean, look at their matchups and look at who they played. North Carolina, Duke, Syracuse, Tennessee, UConn, NC State. That was a big win on the road against NC State. We're both a little bitter about that, but Bill Self has this team back on track, it seems like, after an off year last season. Better this year. Kenny, what do you think about Kansas? Do they have any shot at winning the Big 12, or do you think they could be a team that will be top 3 in the conference at the end of the day?
Yeah, definitely top 5 team in the conference. A team like that's coached by Bill Self isn't going to falter down to the barrel of the conference, the back end of the conference, unless they have some significant injuries. The game I watched them against North Carolina State, that was pure coaching on Bill Self and classic coaching on how he can dig a team out on the road and execute night in and night out. So the coaching, for Kansas and the Big 12, watch out, because that's how Bill Self gets wins right there. So I don't think they're going to fall past the 5th spot. They're 10-3 right now to start the year, and they're opening their Big 12 conference slate up against who they playing. First game is UCF. So that's going to be a tough matchup for them on the road because UCF has only lost 1 game as well. So I'm excited to talk more about that as we go on to the show.
And one thing I need to point out, and I'm sure a lot of people know this as well, but Kansas has been most of the season without their star freshman, Darren Peterson. I mean, this guy, when he plays, is electric. He is a lottery pick. He's averaged 19.3 points a game, 3.8 rebounds, 2.8 assists. So he kind of does it all for them. And the fact that they are where they are right now without him, that just speaks to how good Kansas is and how deep they are. So credit to Bill Self for having his team ready even when their best player's been out. That's a great sign of a good team and, of course, a good coach. So I think this Kansas team much better than last year. Last year was a mess. It just didn't seem like they gelled well. Not the chemistry that you usually see from a Kansas team, even with all the talent they had from the transfer portal. But hey, transfer portal does not always mean success. And we learned that last year with Kansas. So I think it's different this year. Much better, much improved. Kansas should be a tough team any given night in the Big 12, even if they have to go up against Arizona, Houston, Iowa State. They'll always be tough, especially at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, I've only watched a few games of theirs so far this year, but you can instantly tell that the bench, that the players are a little bit more involved, that even the coaching staff is there to really coach. And I feel like last year, like you said, they just didn't gel. Someone was off. Someone didn't seem right. I feel like this year they have those guys, the personnel that they need, and those typical Kansas guys that are there because they really want to be there, not just guys that are just there collecting a bag.
Yep. Melvin Council Jr., what a game he had against NC State. I'm still bitter about that. We took
Yeah, that
NC
guy.
State back when they played at NC State. Peterson left the game at the end of the game. I think it was like the last 2-3 minutes, and Council just made 3 after 3. I think they said it was like the most threes he's ever made in a basketball game in his life. That was tough to watch, but that just speaks again to a guy stepped up when needed, even if their best player was out and down. So good for Kansas. It's always good to see a team like Kansas stay consistent. I mean, I respect them. I'm not the biggest Kansas fan, obviously, but I respect a good coach and a team like that who just continues to have great seasons every year. It's just amazing to see. All right, let's talk about our team. We haven't talked about our team. We're talking a little bit about a sleeper. We'll go back to Houston. I want to talk a little bit about Houston later, but let's give some Oklahoma State Cowboy talk because, Kenny, this is probably the most excited that we've been about Oklahoma State basketball since Cade Cunningham, and that was unfortunately during the COVID year. It just wasn't the same season as we could have had if there was no COVID season because it was limited capacity. You could only go in there. It just wasn't the same environment. It wasn't the same. Basketball wasn't the same that year. So it's nice and refreshing to have a better team in Stillwater this year going into Big 12 play. Now, they're 12-1. That's great. But I will say they didn't play the strongest of strength of schedule, so I'm a little skeptical going into Big 12 play. Kenny, how do you feel about Oklahoma State? I know we've watched them. You saw how they played against Oklahoma and their loss. But all around, how do you feel about this Oklahoma State team as we approach Big 12 play at Texas Tech on Saturday?
Yeah, as you mentioned, we didn't play the strongest strength of schedule prior to the season starting or the Big 12 play starting, excuse me. But at the end of the day, they won the games that they should have won, and they played, other comparable teams like Northwestern, basically at Chicago in Northwestern's backyard. They played Texas A&M, they won. So they've played some reputable teams already. It's not like they haven't played anybody, but that team Oklahoma that they got the loss to, it was nice to see how they responded to the next 3 games, and they've actually won. But losing to Oklahoma stung a little bit because it showed you that we were there, but we're not really quite there yet. And I think that our defense was really exposed. So if you're going to go into the Big 12 play, you definitely got to lock up on defense, and hopefully that loss at Oklahoma in Oklahoma City really taught the team a lesson. And you got to love Will Lutz, the coach at Oklahoma State. He's done a phenomenal job there. It's his 3rd year now, or is it his 2nd year?
Yeah, Steve Lutz.
Did I say Will Lutz?
Yeah, you're good.
A kicker or something for a different team?
Steve
I'm
Lutz,
still in fantasy football mindset, but excuse me, Steve Lutz. I went to Oklahoma State. He's been phenomenal as the head coach there, and looking forward to see the program continue to grow, the rankings continue to get better each year with recruiting. So as a fan, that's what you want to see. I think that we'll be maybe just below 500 in Big 12 play, but we'll be right on the cusp of possibly being 500 or just below 500. And I think we actually will get into the March Madness this year. So I'm excited to see us possibly get a March Madness berth if everyone can stay healthy.
Yeah, as I said, my biggest concern is their defense. The offense can score. There's a lot of guys on the offense who can get buckets. And, of course, at any given time, if you need a basket, they can do it. So I feel really confident in the offense. I would like to see an improved defense. And I don't know how they can do that exactly when it comes to Big 12 play because they gave up a lot of points to some of these bad teams. I will say, obviously, there's a stepping stone here. You have to at least take the positives where you can. If this was a Oklahoma State team last year or in the last 3 years, we probably lose one of those games. One of the team that we absolutely should not lose to.
Yep.
So the coaching improvement, you can obviously see that from Boynton to Steve Lutz. Steve Lutz just in game seems like a much better and improved coach from what we had over the last few years.
And I don't want to make it seem like our defense is that bad. It probably is, a little rough around the edges, but I think in non-conference play, you're trying to get out of the non-conference play with limited amount of injuries for key players. So, and when you're playing defense, you're grinding it out there. And I think with the Big 12 play coming up, you're trying to get to the Big 12 conference play and have as many little injuries as possible. Like, yeah, you want to show up some kind of way on defense, but if you're letting these guys just score up and down the court, it's not the greatest sign because if you're only beating these mid-majors by 10 or less, then that's a big red flag when teams like Arizona, Iowa State, Baylor, Kansas are all coming into your house.
Yep, 100%. And that's the thing. What I was going to say was take care of business at home. Oklahoma State has a great home court advantage. We need to get the fans to all these games. There's nothing else you're doing in Stillwater on a Tuesday night or a Monday night or Wednesday night. No excuses. Oklahoma State fans need to show up for these games when they matter, and they're all going to matter. Every Big 12 game matters. The big key is stealing some Big 12 road games, and that's the toughest part. Winning on the road in college basketball probably is the hardest thing. I think we both agree in any sport, home court is huge in college basketball. I don't think there's anything bigger than a home court advantage in college basketball. So getting wins on the road will be key. If we can steal a couple wins on the road, there's obviously going to be some out there that will be tough to win. But if we can just get a couple that we aren't expected to win, we'll absolutely make the tournament because I think we will take care of business at home. So I'm excited to see how they can do that on the road if they make that happen. A couple of guys I want to quickly mention just because, like I said, we are Oklahoma State fans, so we watch a lot of them. So if you don't know as much about Oklahoma State and you want to learn more, there is a couple of good scorers and a couple of guys I want to mention. The first one is Anthony Roy. He is a left-handed shooter. He is a transfer from Green Bay, Wisconsin, I believe. There's so many guys who transfer. I'm trying to get them all right off the top of my head here sometimes, but I'm pretty sure it's Green Bay, Wisconsin he transferred from. But he has really come along. He had a big night in the most previous game. I believe he was our leading scorer. He put up 27 points. Fran Fraschilla was just like going in love. This guy's like in love with Oklahoma State, it feels like, because he's always given us a lot of credit, which I think that's awesome. But he was saying Anthony Roy is absolutely a guy who can make the NBA, and if not the NBA, he's going to play professional somewhere. But Anthony Roy is a really good player. If you don't know him now, you're going to have to know who he is when Big 12 play starts because he can score in a lot of different ways. He can drive to the basket, he can pull up the mid-range, and he can also shoot from the three-point line. So that's a really good sign. Another guy who I'm really liking early on in this season play is Victorious Miller. He's a sophomore transfer from LSU. He's put up 15 points a game he's averaging. Nice addition there. He's a guard. And then my last guy that I really like is this Fala guy. Fala is a transfer. He's a senior. He's a forward. I think he transferred from Oregon State, if I'm not mistaken. But he's been a key player, and he actually left that game against Oklahoma, and I think it kind of changed everything when they lost. But he's really good inside. He gets a lot of boards. He's just really that like dirty guy inside. Just gets a lot of things that you don't maybe see on the box score. So I'm excited. Those three guys I've been really impressed with. And as long as we can stay healthy and everybody can contribute, even off the bench, this will be a sneaky Oklahoma State team. I'll say they finish between 8th and 10th in the Big 12. And if they finish between those two, I think they get into the tournament for sure.
No, follows look great. He's been one of my favorite players to watch just because he's really smooth as a big guy. He is a great passer, and he sets great screens, getting other guys open that can score and shoot the ball. We haven't had scorers and shooters in a few years at Oklahoma State. So it's nice to have some guys that can spread the floor and knock down shots from beyond the arc because we really haven't had that. We haven't really had a shooter in a few years. We used to have guys like Phil Forte, the other little guy that's on the bench currently now, the bench assistant coach, Keaton Page. He was amazing. We've always had that shooter, but we kind of lost that. And when you lose that, it's hard to get points in the Big 12 if you don't have guys that can shoot. So if you have a guy like Fowler that can set some screens, run an offense, and just a smart basketball IQ guy, he does a lot of things, like you were saying, Alexi, that aren't in the box score, with setting screens and knowing the plays and just making smart decisions. So it's fun to watch this team because there's a lot of guys that have high basketball IQ.
No doubt about it. Let's move on to another team here. Kenny, is there a team that's kind of catching your eye as a sleeper? I know UCF's kind of out there. They're kind of highly rated in the rankings. Texas Tech. We've got BYU, TCU. Any team that's kind of sticking out to you as, I'm not saying they're going to win the conference, but you could see them at least doing something to make some noise in the conference this year.
Yeah, actually West Virginia, who Iowa State is playing on the opening night of Big 12 play. They got a couple guys that can score the ball. It's amazing how much West Virginia has actually been able to replace their roster in the last 4 years after losing Bob Huggins. Each year they've had a new coach, but that hasn't slowed them down from getting new guys. So the guy that they have right now there currently has been there, and he came from North Texas. His name is Ross Hodge. He's the West Virginia's fourth head coach in 4 years. So there's a guy on the team by the name of Honor Huff. He's a scoring transfer, 5'10", and he puts up 15.2 points per game last year while making 41% of his three-pointers. So this guy can shoot, and on a night where he goes off, be careful, watch out. And if they can keep this momentum kind of going throughout the course of the season for the Big 12, and watch out for West Virginia. As a sleeper team, I don't necessarily think they'll win the Big 12, but a team that will kind of be up in the upper echelon of teams, like top 8, where you're like, oh, wow, they're having a really good year, and they should probably be in the tournament.
Yeah, totally. I could see that. I didn't watch much of West Virginia this non-conference play. I did look at some of their box scores. I saw they lost a tough one to Ohio State. That was one of those notable games. They finished non-con 9-4. It looks like pretty much everyone they played notable was a loss. They lost to Clemson by 3, by 10 to Xavier, Ohio State, as I mentioned, in overtime by 1, and then Wake Forest by about 9. So they took care of all the teams they should have beat, and they lost to some of those teams, but all of them were by a small margin in non-con play. So it'll be interesting to see how West Virginia does to kick off Big 12 play. A team
there's no red flag losses. It's similar to Oklahoma State. There's no red flag losses, but maybe a couple of those wins I wish they probably would have had back. Those losses, those 4 losses. If they had won 2 of those games, we'd be talking a little bit differently about them right now.
Sure. Another team that I am trying to figure out, as I say, we know a lot about Big 12 play, but I'll be honest, this team I'm still trying to figure out if they're good, and they weren't ranked for the first time in a long time preseason, and that's the Baylor Bears. Baylor coming into the season, you know what they are. Scott Drew is a great coach. He's always got talent coming in. He usually has a lottery pick as a freshman. Now, from what I'm looking at here, didn't play the strongest of schedules in non-conference play. Their last 4 games were against very weak teams. They put up over 100 in all of those games. They lost to Memphis as a notable game, and they lost to St. John's. St. John's was a 15-point loss. Memphis was about a 7-point loss. Other than that, really not any great wins on their non-conference schedule. Creighton sits there as a notable win, but I don't even think Creighton's that great this season. Yeah, I don't know what to think of this Baylor team. I know they just brought that guy back from the NBA. Did you see that story, Kenny, where they brought this guy who was drafted from an NBA team and now he's back playing college basketball? First off, what are we doing with that?
Yeah, that's the times that we're in right now, and they found a loophole around it where they could sign this 7'2" guy that was drafted by the Knicks. I think he has the rights to the Knicks after he goes into the lottery again. But it's just crazy to see that we're able to sign these professional guys now back to a college roster. So, they're finding ways to do it, and that's just how the game has kind of evolved. So he's eligible to play this semester. He's eligible to play now.
That's just crazy to me. So I'm looking at it right now. I had heard about it. I didn't do too much digging on it, but he was the 31st overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. He never played an NBA game after he was selected by the Pistons and having his rights traded to Charlotte and then later the Knicks. But he's been playing for FC Barcelona since 2020. I know that college basketball and college sports is just in a totally different zone right now, and I hate it. But what are we doing? Why are we letting guys who are drafted and playing professional back into college? That's I just don't understand. That's just so stupid. And the NCAA is just continuing to fumble everything that they have. It's just all around ridiculous. Why would a college guy anymore? Why would he want to ever go to the draft? You know how there's guys who are they should never go to the draft this early, but they do, and they get drafted. Why? Stay in college. You'll get paid. They're going to pay you tons of money the way NIL is now. So I think you're going to see more guys stay in college, Kenny. Those guys who are more borderline to go to the NBA. For example, Jawan Evans from Oklahoma State. Remember that guy?
Yep.
Left. He was a sophomore. Who was the NBA player he reminded you of?
Chris Paul.
Chris Paul. Yep. Great, amazing skill set. He could dribble. He could pull up from anywhere. That guy was just a great college basketball player. If he played all 4 years, oh my gosh, he'd be one of the greatest college basketball players probably of all time.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I think you'll see more guys stay, especially in this new era of college basketball and NIL. You'd be stupid to go. You're going to go play in Europe and get paid however much? You're going to make more playing at the NIL level. So,
yeah, why go to Europe and besides going to travel, if you really like to go travel, when you can stay and play here in the United States and make just as much money and see your family?
It's crazy, man. I don't understand, but it is the world we live in now with college sports. Another team I wanted to mention that is in the Big 12.
Back to Baylor, though, I think they're overhyped. I think that they're a little bit overrated. There's nobody that's on the team that's returned this year, and I think they're going to be similar to what Kansas was last year, where they're going to be a team that doesn't really have an identity yet, and until this big guy kind of gets involved and gets his footing. I don't really think Baylor's going to be – they're going to win some games, obviously, because Scott Drew's a good coach. Baylor's a good program. But I just don't think that they're going to be a top 7 team in the Big 12 this year. I think they're going to be right on that cusp of like maybe get into a tournament, maybe be like 18-12 kind of a year. But I think they're going to struggle this year in the Big 12.
You know what? I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but there's a game that I'm already circling, and that's on Saturday in Big 12 play. It's BYU. Sorry, not BYU. It's Baylor at TCU. And
I already circled it.
And according to Bartorvik, which is pretty good on lines, like right now they have TCU as a 2.5-point favorite, I believe, in this game. I really want to take TCU in this one because this will be one of their first road games. Their only road game this year Baylor's played was on the road against Memphis. I think it was a road game, and they lost. Other than that, everything's been home or neutral court, and they're going on the road, first Big 12 game against TCU, who TCU is going to be fine. Like they're in their metrics, they're top 30 in defense. Offense, they could have some trouble scoring, but if they can limit Baylor from scoring, Baylor's got no defense. They rank 157th in defense efficiency, according to Bartorvik. So,
dude, give me TCU all day. I'm already circling them. I'm already putting the money down. Yep. Look at some of these wins that they've had on the year and some of the games they've played. So they lost against Michigan, 67-63, only a 4-point loss, Lexi. And they beat Florida, number 10 ranked team, 84-80. They beat Wisconsin, 74-63. They lost a close game to Notre Dame, which is kind of weird because Notre Dame didn't really look too good when I watched them play against the University of Missouri. So TCU, definitely a team I'm going to circle right here, but then they got Kansas as their second game. So I think they get this opening Big 12 road win right there, and then home win, and Baylor loses on the road for the first time in the Big 12.
I think we just talked ourselves into our first official Big 12 conference play of the year.
Let us know who you like down below in the comments as well as you're talking. Let us know if any other teams that we should deep dive on or kind of talk more. We want to know all the Big 12 stories that are out there. So let us know any cool Big 12 stories. We can contact someone, bring them onto the show. Or if it's even yourself, you want to kind of share something or have a little comment, we'll read the comments and we'll try to engage as much as we can. So thanks everyone for listening this far.
Yeah, no, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be authentic. We're going to talk about teams that we like, teams that we dislike, and matchups that we like. So that way we can hopefully all try to win together. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to share as much as we can, but also to help people out where you may not follow the Big 12 as much. For example, for me, I don't follow all these other conferences as much. I just, I'm not really interested in it. So I try to stick to one conference and one team or a couple teams, and that's the Big 12, what I want to do. So,
and the annoying thing is that the Big 12 doesn't get as much coverage as all these other conferences. They have the SEC network, they have the ACC network.
Yeah.
Why don't they have a Big 12 network? I'm sick of them hiding games on ESPN Plus. We need to have our own Big 12 network, and this is kind of why we decided to do it and call this show the Big 12 Brothers, because the Big 12 needs more coverage. The Big 12 needs more of the stories told. The Big 12 needs some of those, coaching stories told as well. So, like, we're here to talk about that and expose as much Big 12 rhetoric out there as possible. So if you're one of those guys that hate that they bandwagon the SEC or they bandwagon the Big 10 and try to trap you into thinking that those conferences are so much more superior or elite, and you're sick of hearing it, and you want somebody that can actually talk about the Big 12 on a pedestal as well, in addition to those other teams, and talk trash about those other teams, you found the right channel.
He said it right. We're going to be here. We're going to talk about it. We're going to give the notice, the knowledge, and everything with the Big 12 Brothers podcast here live on a lot of pages. We're going to be on all the social media pages, so don't forget to follow us. We won't be on here too much longer. We're going to just give a couple more breakdowns on some of these teams and a couple of games, but mostly just an intro podcast into who we are and what we are going to do this season in Big 12 conference play. TCU, man, I'm really liking that. The more we talk about it, we have to see what that line is when it comes out. But right now it has them projected to be about a 2.5-point favorite. So I can see that going up to 4.
A lot of people are talking about Baylor already, public bias, like we always like to talk about, because the new guy that just signed from the NBA, I think he's going to play right away. This guy's not going to be on the floor probably that long if he does get some minutes, based on everything that's been happening. So public bias, hearing Baylor in the crowd and hearing Baylor in the news, I think that we're in a good spot for TCU on Saturday.
Oh yeah. All right, Kenny. So we're kind of talking about matchups for the weekend. We'll get into a couple more of those interesting matchups. There's one other team I wanted to mention before we do, maybe two teams, but one first is BYU. So I'll be honest, when I learned that BYU was going to come to the Big 12, I was like, okay, like whatever. I didn't think they were going to be this competitive though. They've been great in football. They've been great in basketball since they've come over. So credit to BYU. I mean, I'm always honest, and if I think a team who came over is not doing great, I'll obviously tell you how it is. But BYU has probably been my most surprising team since, right, Kenny? Is there any other team that you can think of for both sports that have just come in and been super competitive? I mean, BYU is the only team that comes to mind.
Besides Arizona State, their breakout year,
Yeah.
in the opening season, but it wasn't like that for both sports.
Yeah.
I think BYU is kind of come in and be like, all right, we can compete with anybody that's here in the Big 12. And it's kind of been shocking to see that, but congrats to BYU. And as a BYU fan, welcome to the Big 12 and hope you guys stay here and hope you guys have fun. And I'm glad that you guys are playing Notre Dame next year and not USC.
Ooh.
Is that right?
Yep. Or wait, Notre Dame's not playing USC, I believe. BYU scheduled that game with Notre Dame because of that. So,
right.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm glad that BYU is playing Notre Dame because that's more exposure for the Big 12 at the end of the day. So,
yep.
I hope BYU knocks off Notre Dame, and congrats to how BYU's kind of slid into the conference and put themselves up there as one of the more dominant teams for both basketball and football.
And that's something I wanted to also add is not only a congrats and not only a amazing welcome to the Big 12 type of thing, but I've heard from other fans in the Big 12 that BYU is actually one of the more pleasurable places to go watch a game. Like I heard the fans are really nice. We were at a Baylor game. We went to an Oklahoma State Baylor game last year for football, and we were talking to some fans. First off, Baylor fans were amazing too. Like I don't think we ran into one bad Baylor fan. No one talked crap to us. Like it felt like it was almost like two brothers playing against each other that haven't seen each other in 20 years or something. So
no, we walked from the Dr. Pepper Museum where we parked our car all the way to McLean Stadium, and no one said one word to us. I was like, how many people do you think yelled at us because we're wearing our Oklahoma State stuff in the middle of a college town? How many people are going to yell out the window, send out some curse words, no one said anything. So it was a pleasurable time to be down in Baylor. It was hot, 92 degrees that day. Luckily, we upgraded and splurged and got some club seats, which is a beautiful stadium.
Yep.
But also a beautiful little seating area. And I found out that they don't serve alcohol there. And the reason why is because the person that owns the stadium or built the stadium, like kind of similar to T. Boone Pickens, McLean, he does not want that to be part of the game day experience there. So you can definitely tell it's a Christian university that they don't want alcohol on campus. And even in the NIL era, they're going to forego alcohol sales because they don't care. They would rather have an enjoyable experience for the fans versus having alcohol sales. So that was a very curious or very interesting read when I saw Mr. McLean doing an interview the other day on, I don't know what network he was on, but somebody did an interview with him. I think I sent you a clip of it, Alexi. Mm-hmm. But they do not sell alcohol at McLean Stadium.
Yeah, very interesting to see, especially in this era of college sports where you see, it's all about the money, really. And Baylor's like, whatever. Well, if it means that we don't make more money off alcohol sales, then it is what it is. I guess they just don't care about it. So it's kind of cool that you see some of these schools stick to their word and they're basically their mission, and that's what they want to do. And good for them. Money's not everything for those schools. That's great. But yeah, BYU, I'm impressed with them. I looked at their non-conference. Looks like their only loss has been to UConn, and UConn looks like they're back to their normal selves after a little bit of an off season last year. Still not the strongest of schedules. I know they beat Wisconsin, Villanova, Dayton, but I wouldn't say those were like strong non-conference teams that they played. I still think they'll be a top 5 to 6 team this year. You've just got tons of talent up and down. They've got the really good freshmen there from BYU, the potential lottery pick, and that's AJ Debonsta, if I'm saying that right. I know some of these guys are hard to pronounce, but Richie Saunders is back for another season. Robert Wright, the transfer from Baylor, I believe he was the transfer from Baylor last year. He's a sophomore.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that you guys at BYU got a transfer from Baylor to come to BYU.
Yeah.
It's crazy in this day and age that, Nobody cares about where to transfer anymore. They'll transfer within the conference. They'll transfer to the other team that's in the conference.
It is insane, but they got him, and they've got a nice starting five with a decent bench too. So I think this is a good BYU team. They're going to be good from top to bottom all year. They start out with Arizona State. They shouldn't have a problem there. Then they go on the road to Utah. They have a nice start to their season in Big
Kansas
12
State.
play.
They start off with Kansas State at K-State.
Oh, K-State first. Okay, K-State, then Arizona State, and then Utah. So honestly, a nice start for they're potentially playing three of like the bottom teams in the Big 12, and then home against TCU. Their biggest test will probably be at Texas Tech. That's on January 17th to start conference play. And then they hit a little bit of a stretch against Kansas and Oklahoma State. They play those two back-to-back on the road this season. So it should be an interesting season for Baylor to see, or for BYU to see if they can continue their success in the Big 12. And then the other team I wanted to mention, Kenny, is a team that we've always respected, another one since they've joined the Big 12, and that's Houston. Kelvin Sampson just continues to run a great team out there. Tough loss last year in the championship game to Florida, but I still think there's a ton of talent for Houston. Their defense is good as always, and they brought back some nice returning guys of last year. Do you see Houston doing a little bit of what they did last year? Do you think this is a team who has any problems? I know we're looking at their non-conference schedule. They only lost one game. That was to Tennessee by 3 points. Other than that, they took care of business. Do you think Houston's another top contender that can definitely win the Big 12 this season?
Yeah, Houston's definitely going to be in the top five, the whole year. And they got so much depth down there, and they have another great coach in Kelvin Sampson. So they've won the Big 12 the past, was it 2 years or 3 years?
I think it's at least the last two.
Last two, they've won the season, one of them, and they've won the Big 12 tournament twice. So this is a team that knows how to win, and this is a team when the NIL era is in effect. You want guys that have come back, that guys have been in the system, and Houston has that. And I think that when you have that camaraderie and you have the coaching and the turnover and all that kind of stuff, it makes it a little bit easier to get those wins. And instead of being, 10-6 in the Big 12, it can be like a 12-4 team in the Big 12. So they're definitely going to win games. They're going to go on the road and upset some people as well. And they're just a fun team to watch, high octane team. That's another new team in the Big 12. So it's been fun to have another great basketball team in the Big 12 like Houston.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Houston won in 24 and 25. And then Kansas had won the previous 2 years, 22-23. Baylor won the 2 years before that. So it's kind of been Baylor, Kansas, Houston over the last 5-6 years. We'll see if there's a new champion this year if Houston makes it 3 straight in the Big 12. Of course, they brought back Emmanuel Sharp. He's probably their top scorer. Yeah, 17 points a game. Kingston Flemings is their second leading scorer. And then, of course, Uzan. He came back after a great season last year, too. A nice 3-point shooter.
It's going to be an interesting matchup, though. First game on the road at Cincinnati, because Cincinnati is another team that we really haven't talked about much so far. Another new team in the Big 12 that can absolutely win a game at home. And this is probably Cincinnati's best team that they've had since they've been in the Big 12 in basketball. So I think this is a game I might circle as an upset. If Houston doesn't come prepared, I know it's kind of like winter break right now and school's not really in session, but a team like Cincinnati that's in an urban area, they shouldn't have a problem getting guys or getting fans to show up to the game anyway, because I feel like it's a great basketball town and Cincinnati will fill the stands. So I can see an upset right here on this opening weekend of college basketball with Cincinnati stealing a home win.
So on the defensive side, Cincinnati has looked really good. According to the metrics, they are top 10 in defense. What concerns me about Cincinnati, especially against such a great defensive team like Houston, is their offense. Their offense ranks 244th in offensive efficiency. So we'll see. We'll see how they look in that first game. That's going to be a super tough test against Houston's defense. It's just really hard to go against. And when their offensive numbers look that bad, at least so far in the season, it's a little bit hard to trust. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what shows up that day, if their offense does, and if not, if their defense can at least limit Houston to scoring.
Yep.
All right, and then let's see. Who else do we have here? Is there any other team, Kenny, that's sticking out to you as a sleeper or as a team that you could see making some noise outside of anything that we've talked about already?
We talked a little bit about Kansas, but they're playing at UCF this weekend. Really, we're going to talk about UCF. And They are off to a great start to start the year. And Could they possibly upset Kansas at home this weekend? I don't really know too much about UCF. That's one team I really haven't deep dived into. The preseason rankings didn't love them, but all they've done is win to start off the year. And they've had a coach that's been there, who's a Duke alum for, I think, over 20 years now, 18 years actually.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. The Kansas game, I'm trying to remember last year. Last year they played at UCF. It was one of those games where did they get crushed or did they crush them? It was some weird game against UCF, I remember last season. But yeah, that's definitely an interesting one. And according to this metrics page, UCF's about a 5.5 point dog to start that game. And these lines aren't officially out yet. But with UCF, they're a very efficient offensive team. And something about them that makes them good, especially on offense, is they're fifth in offensive rebounding. So they're getting a lot of second chance opportunities, which that's great. Whenever you can get, if you get a missed shot and you can get the ball back for an offensive rebound, potentially get more points, that's always huge, especially in Big 12 plays, those second chance points and at home. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, Kansas has been the more tested team of the two. UCF hasn't had the strongest strength of schedule for non-conference, but sometimes you got to throw that out of the window and kind of go off of the matchups when you start, especially in Big 12 plays. So I could see that one being close. UCF always seems to be a tough team to beat at home. And if they're going to be getting 5 to 6 points to start, I could see that being close down to the wire kind of game. Kansas grinds it out, maybe wins by 3. Yeah, UCF could be a potential upset pick, though, because one of these big teams on the road will lose in week 1.
Yeah, but Kansas's defensive numbers are really good too. They're third in the country, 91.8% adjusted defensive efficiency. So they'll get stops, and I think that's what kind of helped them when they're on the road. The last time against North Carolina State. So let's see if that kind of number or that kind of performance can help them again in this matchup at UCF.
I think the biggest difference the biggest question on these two teams is what's going to show up. Kansas, very elite at defending the 3-point line. They don't allow a lot of threes, and the 3-point percentage against them is really low. They're second best in the country. UCF, 11th in 3-point percentage. So that could be a little bit of an X factor, is if UCF is making their threes, they'll stay in this game. They have a chance for an upset. But if they're not hitting those threes and Kansas is limiting the 3 points, then you're obviously going to see Kansas probably run away with it and down the stretch and cruise to a win. So that's probably the biggest factor there in that game, is which side shows up more.
What an amazing matchup that you have is UCF, coming to your home first game of the year in Big 12 play, Kansas. Like that's if you're a college basketball player, that's the team you want to play first game in conference play. Bring the heavy hitters right away.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we've got another one that we can talk about as a quick preview into Big 12 action. And that here is Oklahoma State and Texas Tech. Kenny, we've talked about Oklahoma State. We've talked a little bit about Texas Tech. Do you have any feel for this game? According to this metrics page, it's saying that Oklahoma State would be about I think it's 11-point underdog. And again, this is not always official as to what the line will be, but yeah, Bartorvik is projecting an 11-point victory for Texas Tech here at home. Kenny, how do you feel? Is that a lot of points to be laying in the first game against Oklahoma State, or do you think that's about right?
No, I think that's about right. I would say like 8.5, 9 is my number that I would have taken myself without looking at the spread already. I just think, like you said, there's too many defensive holes for Oklahoma State right now, and going on the road in a tough place like Lubbock, on a Saturday to open up conference play, that's not going to be the easiest place to play, especially if Texas Tech wins. Is they playing the same time that day, or is they playing the Friday night?
So they play on Saturday. So this is a Saturday game. I believe it's an afternoon matchup. And let me tell you exactly.
The football team play, because this is going to be interesting.
Well, Texas Tech plays on Thursday. They're New Year's Day.
Yeah. Okay. So
they won't be playing on the same day.
It's not going to affect it. Okay.
No.
The whole college football
1 o'clock Central Time.
It's just crazy because in the Big 12, Texas Tech hasn't played since the Big 12 championship. Why have they been off for that long?
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, to get a bye in the first round, but like, how many weeks off do you really need? Is that gonna hurt actually Texas Tech when they play Oregon? We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But
yeah,
I think this line's right where it needs to be. I think Texas Tech will take care of business and get their first win. I might take the points. We'll see. But first conference game, there's not too much here that I'm going to touch.
So the the way I would play it as a fan and what I know, I want to see what the line is the total is for this game. It's projecting about a 91-79 game. That's what 170? Let's see, 91-79. That's a 170 total. If that's what the number is, that's a lot of points. And I think for good reason. Oklahoma State, not great defensively, plays really fast. That's another thing about this Oklahoma State team. If you don't know them, they play like top 25, I think it is, in tempo. So they get up and down the court. They don't really, kill a ton of shot clock. And if they're, trailing in the game down the stretch, they're going to be pulling up a lot of shots. And that's why I think I would play the over here. So if I was going to bet anything in this game, I would probably lean to Texas Tech covering the number. But more confidently, I'd probably lean toward the over. So I want to see what this total is when it comes out. If it's where I want it to be, I will jump on the total right away because that's going to increase. I think when the line comes out, it's going to increase rather than decrease. So total over is the way I'd play Oklahoma State versus Texas Tech.
I think it's a much better read and is doing the over.
Yeah. So we'll see what that line comes out to. I think it'll come out on Friday. Usually Big 12 and all these conference games, now that they're all starting conference play, they all usually come out the day before of the game. You don't see it like football where it comes out a couple days before. It's basketball. They usually come out the day before. So if you can, and that's another thing I wanted to really quickly say on here is if you have access to all these sports books, if you're a sports bettor, make sure that one, if you really like something, get in early. So if you like a total for this game and you think it's going to go up, take the total early and look at all the sports books across because you can find good numbers. For example, DraftKings earlier was offering like a total 2 points lower than one on Fanatics. Like you have to look around and shop because other sports books will offer you a better price and a better number. You got to take advantage of that and use it because you want to get the best number at the end of the day. All right,
awesome. Two more matchups left here on the show before we end it. We have the Arizona teams. Arizona, number one team in the country, is on the road at Utah, and then we have Colorado at Arizona State. You want to talk a little bit about these two games? I know you've been a big fan of Arizona and how they've looked so far to start off the year.
Let me see. Yeah, I think – let me see. Let me pull this up here really quick. Let me pull my numbers up. Arizona, Utah. I think Arizona, 16-point favorite is what they're projecting here. I would lay it. I really would. This is a really good Arizona team. I know that's a lot of points to lay, but
Utah looks like one of the worst teams in the Big 12. So
I don't like this Utah team at all. Yeah, they turn the ball over a lot. They don't force turnovers either. They're like 303 in the country at forcing turnovers. So Arizona really should have their way. Arizona's a great rebounding team. They're fourth in offensive rebounds, 16th in defensive rebounds. They get to the free throw line at a high rate, and they're not. Another thing, Kenny, that I like about Arizona, they don't rely on the 3-point ball. Mm-hmm. They are, I think they're one of the lowest, if not the lowest team in the country at 3-point shots. So I love that. I think it's, the way college basketball and really basketball as a whole has really changed.
Whoa. We had some breaking news.
Uh-oh. What?
Drew Mestamaker has agreed to a 2-year contract to Oklahoma State. He's transferring to Oklahoma State. That's huge.
No, let's go.
Wow.
Boom. No way. Is it real?
Yeah.
Okay. We have live breaking news on the podcast. If that's real, that's amazing.
Let me just go check Twitter, though. Yeah. Wow.
That would make our team
all over Twitter
immensely better. I mean,
that is amazing. Holy shit.
That's huge. This is what we do these podcasts for. I mean, is there a breaking news thing on here? Let me see, guys. Is there a breaking news? Because I'm really hyped right now. And I don't know how.
According to Robert Allen.
Look at that at the top left. Breaking news.
That's
you see it? So we got breaking news. North Texas transfer. Drew Mastamaker.
Is it true?
I mean, if Rob Allen is saying it, he's a pretty good reporter, right? He's the Oklahoma State guy. That would be amazing. And what better way to do it on the opening of Big 12 Brothers?
Yeah. Wow. Air Raid College Football tweeted as well. UNT's Drew Mestamaker has committed a 2-year contract to join his former head coach.
That's awesome. Dude, that's huge. Like there was other teams that were going for him, like big teams too. I think Indiana was out there. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, we could already be better next year. I'm not saying we're going to go out there and like win the Big 12, but we're going to be a top 5 team with him. I mean, that's a great quarterback to bring in. They're going to bring in like other receivers, running backs.
That's amazing.
That running back.
There's a video about it for Instagram.
Not to get totally off the rails here, but that's a huge move for Oklahoma State. I mean, that's what this is all authentic. We're not ESPN. We're not going to sit here and not talk about it, but that's amazing. I mean, Drew Mastemaker was one of the best quarterbacks in college football this year, and I know he played at North Texas, and it's a lower level conference compared to others, but the numbers he put up with his coach Eric Morris, he's going to fit right in the Big 12. That's awesome. I'm pumped for this.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier in my office. I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, if we don't get this Drew Mastemaker guy, then we're in trouble.
Yeah,
they need to have him. If you're going to hire Coach Eric Morris, that needs to be part of the deal. He's coming there with you. But also, you need to get some playmakers now that you have as quarterback and say, like, hey, we have the best transfer quarterback coming to Oklahoma State. We need some playmakers for him to throw the ball around to. And any wide receiver that's out there in the portal that's listening, they need to be going after every wide receiver that's out there and trying to get them to come to Oklahoma State. Because this guy's going to be flinging the ball around the field 40, 50 times a year, just like old Oklahoma State days. And wow.
That's awesome. I'm pumped.
Can't wait.
I mean, we suffered through 2 of the worst years of Oklahoma State football. This is just refreshing that we have a good player like this coming in with the coach. I mean, gosh, I'm pumped.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to all the Oklahoma State fans out there.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. My gosh.
All right, let's talk about the last game of the slate for Saturday.
Not really quick, not to get off, but yeah, Arizona would be my play. I'd lay it. It's a lot of points.
I'm taking the points. I'm going to lay the points on that one. I don't really like to do that, but I'm doing it.
Yep, I think Arizona rolls. I think they win this game by 20, 25 points. Yep.
Cool. Next, in the final game that we have from the Big 12 brothers here on Big 12 men's basketball slate for Saturday, January 3rd, is Colorado at Arizona State. We really didn't talk about Colorado much because that's another team that's supposed to be in the bottom of the Big 12. And Arizona State, they've kind of looked okay, actually, this year. They were supposed to pick it at the bottom of the Big 12 conference as well. What do you like about these two teams, or what do you don't like about these two teams?
Yeah, Arizona State, I think I trust them more. They actually played, let's see, I'm looking at their numbers right now.
They've played Gonzaga, they've played Texas, Washington State, USC.
Yeah.
They played Oklahoma. They beat Oklahoma by about almost 20.
Colorado went 10-3, but they played a really weak non-conference schedule. Like the best team they played is probably Stanford, Washington, San Francisco, just to name a couple of them, Providence. I don't think any of those teams are really great. Yeah, I'm looking at this game right now. I think I would probably lean to Arizona State. This is going to be at Arizona State. Metric-wise, they're both pretty even. Colorado's defense is not good. Arizona State's really isn't either. But when you look at these two teams, I think you're just going to get really below average type of Big 12 teams who, they might still win or two when they're at home. I think they're going to struggle immensely when they go on the road. But I would probably definitely lean toward Arizona State here. I think I've seen more from them. They had a nice win against Texas at the Maui tournament earlier this season. And I think you also saw them. Yeah, nice win against Oklahoma. That's a good win against Oklahoma too. So I think they've been more tested. They played UCLA. They just lost to them by 13. And then Oregon State most recently. But I think they're probably more tested. They'll be at home here. I would take Arizona State and lay the number. When that comes out, we'll see what it is.
Cool. That wraps up our first ever show with basketball. So let us know down below if there's any games that we should look into more or any teams that we should talk about more, especially players now that the Big 12, it's a little bit harder to keep track of all these guys now because there's not just 10 teams, there's 16 teams. So let us know if there's any players out there that are having good weeks or having good years. Comment down below who those guys are. We can do some cover stories on them. Maybe send them some NIL money to come on the show. Who knows? We have a pretty good budget with deep pockets over there. So
hey, I'm just saying, here's a quick little information. So as you follow Big 12 brothers, make sure you follow us on our other personal accounts. So Deep Pockets is more of a sports gambling page. I post all my picks on there. We had Illinois +3 earlier. Illinois +3. They beat another SEC team, big bad SEC. We're not going to get into that one, but nice winner there. And then, of course, follow Kenny on NYCKB. He has a lot of great, amazing New York City content. And, of course, he is the Rat Daddy. If you don't know the Rat Daddy, well, now you do. So follow NYCKB. That's what this page is sponsored by tonight, is Rat Tours in New York City. But not only Rat Tours, all the great content, pizza, great food, everything that you need to know about in New York. It's one of the best tours I'm hearing. I heard all across the internet that NYCKB and Rat Talk, Rat Tours is one of the best hits that you can get in New York. I mean, why go visit the Statue of Liberty? Why go visit some of these museums? Go on an authentic rat tour around New York City. I mean, what else would you want to do? You want to go see all the trash in New York City? Go look for the rats.
Yeah, tonight's show is sponsored by Rat Talk, so make sure you look online to book a rat tour. And if you don't want to go, but maybe you want to give it as a gift to somebody else, you can do that as well by going to visitnyckb.com. Again, www.visitnyckb.com. Tonight's official sponsor of the Big 12 Brothers is Rat Talk. So thank you, everyone that listened and watched. And make sure you follow our both accounts, as Alexi mentioned, because we have a lot of great content that's not just Big 12, but other sports in general. But we will share primarily Big 12 news, updates, and all that kind of stuff on here on our channel.
Pause. This is where authentic work comes in here. We are not ending the show right this second. We have 2 minutes, and that 2 minutes is dedicated to the Texas Tech Red Raiders as they are getting ready for the Oregon Ducks in the college football playoff on Thursday, New Year's Day, 11 a.m. Central Time, plus 2.5. Money line is plus money as well. Kenny, really quick, I know we really like Texas Tech, and we're going to be pulling for them really hard in this college football playoff, but tell me why you would take Texas Tech. Tell me why someone who hasn't watched Big 12 play all season and doesn't know as much about Texas Tech like we do, tell me why you should take Texas Tech on Thursday.
Number one, Texas Tech has NIL money as well. So if you haven't heard, they've spent $27 million roughly to assemble this roster this year. They've got a great quarterback. They've got some great skill players at different positions on offense. They've got an offensive line, and they've got a two-headed monster at running back. They also have a defense. Everyone always complains or rips the Big 12 about not having a defense. This Texas Tech team is loaded on defense, and they can make plays. I'm expecting this game to be low scoring, and I'm expecting I'm expecting Texas Tech to score about 27 points to Oregon's 14. So I think it's going to be a 27-14 matchup. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns and double digits. And I think this Texas Tech team is capable of not only winning this game, but winning it all. And we took a futures bet because we love the Big 12, and we support the teams when we know that they're actually good and not frauds. I'm not just saying this about Texas Tech because they're not a fraud team. They're a legit team. They may not have beaten anybody that you think that they've beaten on the roster or the schedule looking up and down, but the way that they've won games, they're the best team against the spread in college football all year. If you looked at how they've covered every game, and just all those metrics up and down, they're a legit team. And then they also have a real coach. Joey McGuire is a real coach. He's from Texas. He knows how to recruit. And you got all those mixings down there, and this has been happening for a while. They've been kind of hyped up for a couple of years now, and now it's all coming together, and Texas Tech is legit.
Yeah, I
leave anything out?
I can't wait for this game. I really like Texas Tech. And again, it's not just because of Big 12 play, but I just don't think they're getting enough respect.
Here's my question. Being real right here. What if they lose?
If they lose, I think they just lost to a good team. I mean, Oregon's a good team. I think I think it'll tell on how the way they lose. If they get blown out, I'll come out and say I was completely wrong. Texas Tech wasn't ready. But I don't see that happening. And this is going to come down. If they lose, it's going to be by like 3 to 6 points. And I think if they lose, it's going to be by like 3
I think
points.
I saw a stat that said that these teams have missed the bye or like 0-7 since 3 years ago. So are they going to be rusty?
Nah, no. I think if anything, it's kind of scary. They haven't played in a month, but I don't think you can't always look into that stuff because then you start overthinking it, and
I'm not overthinking it. I'm just being real. Like I want to ask the real questions, and we're not ESPN. We're going to sugarcoat or fluff anything. We're actually asking real questions and talking about the scenario. Like do they have pressure on Texas Tech to win this game on behalf of the Big 12?
Well, no. And you know what? I love that they're the underdog. I love that the betting odds are showing them as the underdog because these guys look at that stuff. They know that no one's giving them credit. You think most people are right now picking Texas Tech or Oregon? Most people are looking at it like, oh, Oregon, they're a Big 10 team. They came from the Pac-12. They have a great coach too. They're going to go in there, Dan Lanning, and they're going to win. They're going to win this game. Texas Tech's never been there. They're not going to do anything.
It's amazing to see these two teams with all this money now, and they're playing each other in the college football playoff. That's what it's come to. Like if you're a millionaire, you won the lottery, we just fund our team and pay for players, and all of a sudden now you're in the playoff. Like is that how you really want college football to be now?
I
Is where
know.
you just buy players and put guys on teams. Like, is that how it's supposed to be?
I know.
Because number one, like people aren't even graduating from the school that they went to or chose. And how are you supposed to find a job afterwards if
Yeah.
this is what your high point is in college, is that you got paid 2 years for an NIL deal and you don't go to the pros?
So, Kenny, I want to give you a quick reason as to why I really like Texas Tech
Go ahead.
and why I think they're legit. Because one, you said it too, their defense is legit. And people are like, oh, yeah, whatever. No, the Big 12 is known for high powering, fast offense. And look at what this defense did to some of these offenses. And I'm not saying these offenses were great this year, but this isn't just their last 5 games. I'm not even going to count Oklahoma State because we were garbage this year. They shut them out as they should have. But in their last 5 games, they gave up only more than 10 points once. Kansas State, they gave up 20. After that, they gave up 7 to BYU. They gave up 9 to UCF. They shut out West Virginia on the road. And that's hard to do in Big 12 plays, go on the road and shut somebody out. And then in the Big 12 championship game, 7 points to BYU. So in their last 5 games,
Incredible.
That's what their defense did. I mean, that's why I think they're legit. And then if you look at all the other games before that, Utah, they gave up 10. Houston, they gave up 11. Those are 2 of the best Big 12 teams outside of BYU. Kansas, 17. And then their loss on the road to Arizona State, which I think was kind of fluky, 26. But outside of that, this defense, those numbers speak for themselves. And that's why I really think the Texas Tech team is legit and why I think they're going to win this game against Oregon. And it's going to be the defense that does the job.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them play on Saturday. So wreck them. Go Texas Tech.
The spread is 2.5. The money line is plus 110. If you want to get, obviously, the plus money, take the money line. But in my opinion, I say take the 2.5 just because if you take the 2.5 and the game goes to overtime, remember the overtime rules. If you score a touchdown and then the other team scores, then the second overtime is only a 2-point conversion if you score. And then after two overtimes, then it's like if Texas Tech were to lose in overtime, then they're going to most likely lose by like 2 points.
I'm with you. I'm confident that they win. I don't even want the point. I don't even need the points.
But yeah, if you're very confident,
I'm taking Texas Tech money line. Why did I need 2.5 points?
I'm just giving a little bit of a background as to what could happen. But yes,
Yep.
I agree. Money line, Texas Tech. That's going to be my official bet on Thursday on the 11 a.m. kickoff. Love it. I'm on Texas Tech. We're all in on the Raiders, and the Big 12 brothers will be rolling with those the Big 12 team. So I'm pumped for it.
Guns up.
All right. Well, I think that's going to conclude the first official Big 12 Brothers podcast of the year. We talked about a ton of these Big 12 teams in basketball. I think we covered just about every basketball team and gave a little bit of everything. Didn't go super deep dive into them, and that's okay. We don't need to. But a little bit about us, a little bit about what we're going to do. We're going to be here all season long. Our goal is to try to talk about each game. So even though there's not games every day, we'll try to do like a Sunday podcast before these games are played and just give out some of our favorite thoughts, or even a night before the games start. So we're going to be here all season long. We're going to do a lot of Big 12 content, give out all of our favorite looks and lines and picks and all that good stuff, and just have some fun with it. That's the goal of this page, is to have fun and bring more attention and action to the Big 12 because it's one of the best and funnest conferences out there.
Awesome.
Anything
Great
else?
show, Lexi.
We're all good?
All good.
All right, awesome. This will be posted on YouTube. We'll post some clips on TikTok and Instagram, and then, of course, Twitter/X. Be sure to follow us. If you don't follow us already, make sure you follow us because notifications will need to be turned on for when future lives/recordings are being made. Everyone have a great day. Best of luck with whatever you take action with in the sports betting world, and have a great night.
Thanks, everybody.